Welcome back to Africa Express. We are still talking with Mr. Chase Stewart. Before we took a break, we were going to talk about the water issue.
Water everywhere.
In the recent times, of course, the people of Brockton basically have been complaining, at least some people, that they were being overbuilt. And apparently, you are one of the persons that have initiated a review about water. My question to you is, how did this come about? And does the city have any plan to give credit to those residents that are affected?
Right. So a quick recap of how this started. First of all, these excessive water bills apparently had been going on for many, many years and just hadn't been brought to the attention of a city councilor or an elected official, as far as I know. But certainly the Department of Public Works had been aware of it because they do these abatements every year. And so it had been sort of a long-term systemic problem that hadn't gotten the attention of sort of the political establishment. I had received a phone call from Robert Ford, who got a $17,000 water bill or something ridiculous like that. And I went and met with him. And you know, there's always two sides to a story, so I try not to make too many assumptions, but except to say when someone calls me, I'm assuming they've already sort of dealt with the bureaucracy not to their satisfaction. I then wrote the leadership in DPW, someone in the Water Commission, and also Mr. Ford's ward counselor, Michelle Dubois, and made them aware of this odd circumstance that was going on. And frankly, I was not that impressed by the response from the department to this particular incident, where I felt there was too much of a tone that Mr. Ford needed to, that this constituent needed to bear the full responsibility of this $17,000 water bill. And that just didn't ring reasonable or even true to me based on my conversation and the notes and stuff.
Just to ask you something, $70,000, is it for a month or for a year? What?
Well, what happened was, you know, and it's, you know, we all get these bills and it has quarterly.
Yes.
And there's either an A for actual reading or E for estimated reading. I don't think anyone pays attention. Usually you get a bill, you pay it, and you think you're fine. But a lot of residents were getting these estimated bills for years and years and years, which is also a very bad practice. So in the case of Mr. Ford, I forget the number of years, but let's assume that it was estimated bills for 5 years, that the estimation was based on a consumption 5 years ago when perhaps there were, you know, 2 people in the house versus 5 people in the house or whatever. And so then when the city gets an actual reading, they discover that you've used a lot more water because the estimates were based on some an assumption of consumption from years ago. So then the city would send you this huge bill to make up the difference. But even at that point, we knew the bill wasn't accurate because the consumption was all based on today's rates. And the city knows that if we send you this $17,000 bill, and assuming that everything was all correct, that it really wouldn't be $17,000 because it would be prorated based on previous rates, which were likely less expensive 5 years ago or 10 years ago. So the idea that we would, first of all, as a city, send out a bill to residents that we know is not correct, that's this enormous amount that would give anyone a heart attack, didn't make a lot of sense. And then not to realize that when someone got a $17,000 bill, or in one case, someone received a $100,000 bill, that the person wouldn't be irate when they got the bill and not anticipate that kind of anger and frustration was something that was just bewildering to me. But anyway, so I was not happy with the response. Very fortunately, Michelle Dubois really has taken a lead on this issue because many of the calls happen by coincidence, I guess, coming from her ward in Ward 6. And she's done an excellent job of working through, you know, understanding what the issues are and proposing solutions and things like this. And Councilor Brophy did a wonderful thing, I think, which was to suggest that we do an audit of the whole system. And so I think I've been an active participant in the process. I think fundamentally this is where city government has worked because a resident had a problem. That resident contacted their city councilor. The city councilor, in this case, I responded in a timely, responsible fashion. And then my colleagues also took on very important roles to help solve the problem. I think we're going to get through this. Everyone from DPW to the mayor's office to city council is committed to making certain that this audit is comprehensive, looking at management and communications as well as technical things. And I'm optimistic that we're going to get a very robust evaluation of what has happened here. And I'm also convinced that we're going to, as a city, act aggressively on whatever recommendations are provided by this independent auditor to reform, if not the department, to reform at least the process that's led us into this really embarrassing situation. And I say embarrassing because I've had great experience with DPW as a city councilor. I call the highway department because someone has an issue on their street, and they've been incredibly responsive with like getting things fixed and being sensitive and understanding of residents. And I've had a great tour of the water treatment plant that we have and just how professionally it's being run. So to have this water thing just get worse and worse and worse versus getting better is just really been frustrating and embarrassing, but we're going to fix it.
Part of my question was, is the city, maybe you're not at liberty to discuss that, is the city going to give credit back to those affected? Would that be part of the solution?
I don't know. I'm more concerned about accuracy. I mean, my view is if you've used the water, you should pay for it. It's sort of like, if I can't stay at my house unless I pay my mortgage. I can't use my credit card unless I pay the bill monthly. I can't drive my car, unless I put gas in it. So, but I don't want to be billed incorrectly for my mortgage or overcharged for my gas or, erroneously have interest tacked onto my credit card. So my goal is to make sure we fix and provide accurate billing to people who have been unjustly charged.
Mr. Stewart, thank you so much for being with us.
My pleasure.
And the work you're doing in Brockton, please do continue to do that. Again, we do appreciate you being on Africa Express.
Well, thank you for the invite. It's been fun.
You're welcome. And you have been watching Africa Express, talking with Mr. Jass Stewart, who is the first African American elected to Brockton City Council. Again, thank you for staying with us, and continue to watch Africa Express same time at the same place. Thank you.